Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. I want to get to what could develop in parts of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. I was talking about this yesterday, also around Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada. As I highlighted in yesterday's video, we have that higher threat of rain and flooding. That is still the case. Everything right on track from what we've been talking about together, and we are clearly more active out there. Now, I want to get into the spots we need to watch. Again, Gulf of Mexico and Western Caribbean next week. We could see a system developing in here, even over toward the Bahamas, moving back near Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. This is going to be a hot spot to watch. I want to talk about why. Here's what's going on. Let me zoom down a little bit closer. Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, northeastern Venezuela. We've had some heavier rain overnight, even keeping an eye on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We've had some thunderstorms. Flooding will be a potential. We have this tropical wave that continues to feed in moisture. We can see an additional 75 millimeters or 3 inches of rain in some spots just today. Please be safe. Keep me posted in the comments on what you got going on. But again, watching this area here. Now, here's the broad picture. Here's Jamaica, Cuba, Florida through here. We get back through Central America, Belize, Honduras. Let me show you what's happening. We have this tropical wave moving in. Conditions are not favorable for development. Now, we have that threat of flooding, of course, not letting my eye off the ball on that. But as this tropical wave marches across and gets over here, close to the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Florida, there is a higher likelihood that it does develop. So what's going to happen is this is going to feed this way by the time we get into the weekend and early next week. And then the conditions become more conducive for development, and it can spin up. Now, the issue with this season is it could spin up quickly. Here's why. Once conditions in the atmosphere get favorable, the water is so warm that a system could quickly develop and feed off of these very warm water temperatures. Look at some of these pinks even showing up. 32 degrees Celsius. We're in the mid-90s, 95, 96, 97 degrees Fahrenheit in spots for temperatures. So we have record warm temperatures. Now, here's where this tropical wave is right now. In the Eastern Caribbean, as I mentioned, it moves near the Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, and Florida. By the weekend and early next week, super warm water here. That's why it is a concern. It is a concern that this does develop into a tropical depression or even tropical storm as we get into next week. So we need to pay very close attention to this. The hurricane season is definitely getting more active, and that is one spot. Now, I've been talking about this spot in the Gulf and the Western Caribbean over the last few days. The Hurricane Center now is highlighting this area, and we have these two spots out here as well as you get into the open waters of the Atlantic. So plenty of things to watch. Now, while this area is a concern, a map like this is common. Again, this channel, it's just the weather is what it is. I've been doing this for decades. Again, I do this channel for safety. So as we get deeper into the season and we see more maps looking like this, just going to let you know where things are going, how strong they'll be, or how strong they could be, and just give you the facts of exactly what could happen and what could not happen. So again, hopefully we have a lot of good news to pass along, but as of now, I am watching a few areas. So let me set the stage and take you through it. This is our tropical model. And again, this is really coinciding to the European model as well. This is the American model. Things are in pretty decent agreement right now. So let me just take you out on time and what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking with this. I don't just look at the models. By the way, look at this, a developing system here in the Eastern Pacific. I want to show you that in a moment. Now, as we go out on time, this is by Saturday. You see that spot right there? Jamaica, Cuba, Bahamas, Cayman Islands, Florida. We've got that rain that will be building. This is the moisture that moves in. So again, watching this spot here. And by the way, by the time we get into Saturday, more rain near Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Barbados, another tropical wave moving in. But this here is what could eventually spin up. Now, the American model has a lot of rain building near Florida and the Bahamas. And then eventually, by early next week, this is by Monday, something trying to develop in the Gulf of Mexico. I do want to caution, though, this blob here may be over here. So again, watching near Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Cuba, or again, it could be up here. It's hard to tell exactly exactly where something may want to develop, but the modeling's doing a good idea. I've been talking a lot about the extra moisture, and this is it. And then if something spins up, it looks like it would track west. Again, could see something near the Yucatan or Belize, or we could see something near Texas, Louisiana, or even down through parts of Mexico and watching the Bay of Campeche. So anywhere over here, by the time we get into next week, that potential of a tropical storm can't even rule out a spin up of a hurricane. So I'll be watching that. Now, as we get deeper into next week, almost the same scenario plays out. We're going to see more and more strong tropical waves moving in. And once again, look at the blob of rain right here. So we could see one system develop and then the potential of another system try to develop later next week. Plus, all that stuff off the coast of Africa, look at that. Now, the early indications are that those two strong waves off the coast of Africa would stay out to sea. But I want to use some caution. They haven't developed yet. So again, I don't have a good handle on exactly how the environment is going to handle them and the steering conditions. But as of now, it looks like we will see development coming off the coast of Africa, those two areas, and then hopefully staying out to sea. But we could get into a pattern where we have name system after name system. A tropical storm developing, a hurricane developing, a tropical storm developing. So it is going to get active. That doesn't mean everything is coming our way. I'll break it down as clearly as I can for you as we get deeper into the season. So this is that tropical wave near Trinidad and Tobago that will feed toward the Bahamas and Florida, and it may develop in the Gulf or the Western Caribbean. These are the two tropical waves that are also showing some signs of developing out here. So we've got more of this. Now, hopefully, these are developing at high enough latitude or north enough that they would kind of get picked up and stay out to sea. But again, that is way out there, thousands of miles out there. So I'll continue to monitor that area. So again, very warm water temperatures are a very big concern this season, that things could develop in a hurry. And that's why I'm here to give you that advanced warning to help keep you safe. And I've been trying to do that, again, highlighting the areas that I believe have at least the potential of some development. Now, out here, things have been a little slower to develop. A lot of dry air. And this here, look at this. This brighter coloring here, this is the Saharan dust. The global wind patterns this time of year bring the rain and storms and the dust off of Africa this time of year, and we have been seeing it across the Caribbean for sure, even around the Turks and Caicos, seeing some of the dust, Jamaica, ABC Islands, over toward Dominica, Martinique. So again, lower air quality. I don't want to lose sight of what else is going on out there, but again, the dust and dry air is at least slowing things down a little bit near the coast of Africa, but elsewhere the water temperature is an issue. Now, as I mentioned, it is common to see many things out there and track many things this time of year. August, September through October, the peak of the season. Again, we have the bulk. Most of the season is ahead of us, even through November. November was very active last year, and again, we could see again a very active November this year. The hurricane season officially ends at the end of November. Now, look at this. We have Fernanda out there, and this here that is trying to develop, which looks to become Hilary. And yes, in Southern California, this system could bring some gustier winds and the threat of some heavier rain across much of the southwest United States. In particular, watching Mexico in the short term. And look at the models. Yesterday I was showing you, and again, this is why I look at the trends and I don't just rely on one model. I look at the steering conditions and the atmospheric conditions. The models were a little more offshore. Now in pretty solid agreement that over toward Cabo, you get over toward the Baja, Gulf of California, we are going to have some tropical storm and or hurricane impacts, and then eventually the system will weaken as it gets closer to Southern California, and with that it could still bring some rain. So here's a map I don't often show, but again, you see all these models headed toward Los Angeles. And that does look a little bit scary. And that is a concern because, again, we get some decent amounts of rain in Southern California with the terrain. That could be a big issue with some flooding. So that is clearly a concern. With that said, as this system strengthens over time, it will weaken as it gets closer to California. This is going out in time. So here's 24 hours, 48 hours, so that's 2 days from now. 3 days from now, 4 days from now. 4 days from now, it could still be a hurricane, but then there'll be a sharp weakening because as this system gets very close to the Baja and again works its way to the north, it encounters some cooler water, plus the friction from land will help to weaken it. So there will be some weakening, but look how the moisture will eventually build in. And I want to show you the wind tracker in just a second. But let's start with this. And again, this model having a good grasp on this system. The American model's actually been doing a pretty darn good job. The American model's been doing better than the European model as far as forecasting this, at least as of now. But again, this is by the time we get into Friday. So Friday, we could see some gustier winds in close to tropical storm conditions, southwest coast of Mexico, heaviest weather just offshore, but some rain bands moving in. Of course, very threatening seas, very threatening waters as we get toward the Gulf of California. Again, dangerous waters, Gulf of California this weekend. This is Saturday. While the system is just off to the southwest of Cabo, you get those big feeder bands rolling in right up toward the Gulf, and that is, again, the Gulf of California, and that is going to bring in some heavier weather, tropical storm conditions, and those high seas, coastal flooding. And then you see the system feeding in. There could be more of a predecessor rain event. Sometimes at ahead of tropical systems, there's an extra batch of rain, and we could see that trying to work its way into California. This is by the time we get into Sunday, still tropical storm, near hurricane conditions over toward the Baja, but then we'll see the weakening, but still that threat of rain and some gustier winds for southwestern parts of the United States, which is not typical whatsoever. So again, Southern California, now watching the tropics very carefully. We had a system move in last year, and it looks like we may do it again this year. So I'll be monitoring this in the short term. Very dangerous seas, and then we could see another developing system back behind it. Both the Atlantic and the Pacific, very active. That's why when I was doing my forecast for the season, yeah, we're getting into an El Nino, but the water temperatures are also a big factor. There's other factors than just El Nino. So again, I was expecting above average season. Now, looking at these winds, very close to some tropical storm force winds at the coast, but these are the core of winds, which would be over 110 kilometers an hour or 70 miles per hour. So kilometers an hour and miles per hour there on your screen. And this is as we work our way into the weekend. It looks like this will become a hurricane, could even become a major hurricane, could become a Category 3, and again, impacting near Cabo and the Baja of California, Gulf of California, tropical storm to hurricane conditions this weekend. So yes, time to start thinking about those preparations. Then, as this giant wind field works its way up to the north, they'll be weakening, but we're going to see some gustier winds trying to work into the southwestern United States. As far as Southern California goes, we could see some winds gusting around 50 miles per hour if this forecast hold. And with the terrain, with the type of vegetation there, that would lead to some power outages and down trees. So again, a scenario I'm going to pay very close attention to from Mexico right up through parts of the southwest U.S., California in particular, watching this system. It is super busy. Now, as far as the rain goes, this goes over the next 4 days. Very heavy flooding rain. Now, in the short term, most of it stays offshore, but these are some crazy rain amounts that would be over 1 foot of rain, or that would be over 300 millimeters of rain. And we're going to see that flood potential really picking up. I'll keep you posted on that rain as well, along obviously with the winds and those high seas with this system. So again, just had a couple name systems out there. Hilary is the next name on the list. This area could get the name Hilary later today. It's still kind of wrapping itself up. And again, it will be very close to the coast of Mexico and parts of the western United States as we get through the end of the week and into the upcoming weekend. Now, the short-term concern, Trinidad and Tobago back through Grenada. I've been talking about the rain. We've got that tropical wave moving in. Please be safe. We have street flooding now in parts of Trinidad, and again, we could get more. Watch out for the downpours and some gusty winds. Grenada, the high chance of rain. Gusty winds today. We could have some power outages and some flooding with this tropical wave that is moving in. Barbados, rain chance picks up to 30% tomorrow and into Friday. And in St. Lucia, a 40 to 50% chance tomorrow and Friday. Rain chance gradually going up. Same things to the Grenadines, especially to the south. Southern sections especially, watching out for some isolated areas of flooding with that tropical wave that's moving in. Jamaica rain chance 50% Thursday and Friday, but by the weekend and early next week, I want to keep a close eye on this system, this new developing system. Does it develop more toward the Bahamas and Florida, or is it a little bit more to the south toward Cuba and Jamaica? Still a wait and see out of that, and then that action will pull into the Gulf of Mexico. Belize, the rain chance elevated today, the 50 to 60% chance, and we've had isolated flooding in Belize. Cayman Islands, the next 2 days, a 50% chance of scattered showers and storms. Bahamas, again, by the weekend and early next week, watching it very carefully to see if anything tries to spin up. At the least early next week, the weekend and early next week, the rain chance picks up. And then if it develops, or if it starts to develop near the Bahamas, that moisture should push over toward Florida and then eventually developing further in the Gulf of Mexico as that moves away. Turks and Caicos, rain chance 40% the next 3 days. Isolated showers and storms as we work our way through Guadeloupe. Same thing in Dominica, a 40% chance tomorrow. And we make our way into Martinique, a 40% chance of scattered passing showers for tomorrow. Puerto Rico, very hot again today. Afternoon storm chance will pick up a bit tomorrow and again on Friday. A 20 to 30% chance of rain, U.S. Virgin Islands and British Virgin Islands. And in Haiti, some scattered thunderstorms with isolated flooding of potential where we see some of the storms, holding on to that 50% chance of scattered showers and storms for the Dominican Republic. A 30% chance, St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat, and a 30% chance Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda and Anguilla, we've had some passing showers the last couple days. Rain chance holding at about 30%, so still that chance of some passing showers in Anguilla. Now, as we get over toward St. Martin, Saba, Statia, and St. Bart's, rain chance 30%. Couple passing showers. Can't rule out a rumble of thunder as well and some gusty winds in a few of the showers. Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, though rain chance stays very limited, even with that action over toward Trinidad. Again, more of that's going to pivot to the northeast of Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire. Guyana, we're seeing again some isolated flooding. Elevated rain chance 60% and a 60% chance in Suriname today. Now, as we get into Costa Rica, that rain chance has been high. Same thing in Panama. We've been talking about the flooding over the last week or two. Northern Venezuela, especially northeastern Venezuela, closer to Trinidad, will have a higher chance of rain and that potential of some flooding today. So my concern is the development close to home. Because of the water temperature, something could spin up pretty quickly. Next week, watching the Western Caribbean, really, I should say now through next week. Again, I'm already watching it clearly, hence this video. But again, the possibility of some development in the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. And again, a heads up, the Gulf states of the United States, Texas and Louisiana in particular, keeping a very close eye on this system. Strong tropical waves out there coming off of the coast of Africa. They may develop. I'll monitor those, and clearly that August pattern that was expected to be active, it is here. No doubt about it. There is plenty to track. The next named system in the Atlantic Basin is Emily. And again, I'll keep an eye on what's about to become Hilary on that Pacific side. Super busy, but I got you covered right here on this channel. Thank you for sharing this channel with others. Thank you for being part of this weather community. Have a good day ahead.